Is this thing on? Yeah. My brothers in Christ, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about faith through the storm. Alright, and I know this this video is going to hit for majority of you guys watching, because we all know what it feels like to be in a storm and not know, when that storm's going to end. And of course, I got the word on me. We're going to be getting into the word and talking about what we need to do to keep our faith strong within this storm, because the storms are bound to come, right? And just from my testimony, I know what it feels like to be in a situation where you just feel like the world is against you, quite frankly. Like, I don't even think there's a better way for me to articulate it than that, right? Everything is happening to you and not for you. It's like one thing after another is going left, starting with relationships falling through, maybe finances falling through. You have bills, things coming up, and you don't know how you're gonna pay them, right? That's real, right? You think about your life and all the things that you want to do, and it feels like you're literally going backwards, right? It feels like you're taking steps backwards, and all the work that you've put in thus far has just been crumbling before your eyes, right? And nonetheless, you feel like you're in this storm, and like I mentioned before, everything is just happening to you rather than for you. I really want to get into what it means to have faith within it all, right? Because at the end of the day, as believers, we know, right? Not we think, we know that God is intentional, right? And everything that He does happens for a reason. He knows the numbers of hairs you have on your head, the number of sand within the sand. You guys get what I'm saying, right? The grain within the sand. And He so intentionally placed us in orbit to the point where we're not too close to the moon to where we freeze, or too close to the sun to where we burn up. He's intentional with everything that He does. Everything that we experience, everything that we go through is an opportunity, right? And this is the perspective I want you guys to adopt by the end of the video. The idea that you don't experience problems, you don't have problems. That's what the devil wants you to believe. That's what he's going to whisper in your head, right? Faith is in here. That's what the devil's going to whisper in your head. A lot of the times when the storm becomes too much to bear, it's because you get inside your head and you start believing the thoughts that he plants there, right? That doubt, anxiety, you're not good enough, you never had it, you should quit, you should give up, you're never going to meet her, you're never going to, all these different things. Right? By the end of the video, like I was saying, I want you guys to come to the perspective and adopt the perspective that you don't experience problems. Problems do not exist. God is intentional with everything that He does. And we'd be doing a disservice to even think that what's before us is a problem. No, it's an opportunity. Every time you go to use the word problem, I want you to swap it out for the word opportunity. Problem does not exist in your vocabulary anymore. You only have opportunities. So, getting into the word now. That was quite a long-winded intro, but we're going to head over to Matthew. Right, and in Matthew, I want to talk about Peter. I mean, what better place to start than talking about the man who walked on water within the storm. Where am I at? Matthew 14, verse 22. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of Him to the other side while He dismissed the crowd. After He had dismissed them, He went up on the mountainside by Himself to pray. Later that night, He was there alone. I want to stop right here. In Matthew verse 22, the God that knows all things sent His disciples across to the other side. He knew. I want you guys to ask yourself this question. I was going to give you the answer, but I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you think that Jesus knew that He sent His disciples into the storm? 100%. 100% He knew. right? So what does that tell us? Sometime God will send you into the storm. You know why? Because it's an opportunity to stretch your faith. It's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to develop character, perseverance, resilience. Sometimes God will send you into the storm. So the storm that you're experiencing and that you're praying for deliverance out of was sent as an opportunity for you to develop yourself, right? And this is where the perspective needs to be shifted, because things do not happen to you, they happen for you, right? And that's the perspective we're trying to get across in this, right? He didn't accidentally send them into a storm. No, Jesus is intentional with everything that he does. He sent them into the storm for a reason, right? And something I actually have to written down here is that the storm reveals what comfort hides, right? And that is so important, because when you're comfortable, when you're walking on ground that you are acquainted with, there is no room for faith. You're walking on things that you believe are certain to you, right? But when you step out into the unknown, when things get shaken up a little bit and they become unpredictable, that is when you lean into your faith. That is when you lean into Jesus, right? And it allows you to grow at a level that you never even imagined, right? Which is why going through storms, I mean, so many times you look back in your life, think about all the times that you never thought you were going to make it out. Think about all the times you thought it was over. Think about all the times that you thought, she broke your heart and your heart's going to stay broken forever. Think about the time where you lost that job and you never knew that you were ever going to come back from that. Or that time you got hit by a car and whatever happened and you didn't think you were going to come back from that. Right? That relationship, that job, that friendship. Right? Maybe something happened in college, university, bad grades. You didn't think you were going to come back from that. But you're still here. Right? You made it out. But not only did you make it out, but you made it out with all the lessons that you learned within that season. You underwent some form of character development that matured you as a man, that matured your faith, your spirituality, your relationship with Jesus. So I want you to understand that the storm doesn't just bring heartache, hard times, but it's an opportunity for you to develop your character, right? Hit that new level as a man in your maturity with Christ, in your maturity with your relationships, in your maturity with your finances, right? It'll teach you how to steward what you have more effectively. And that's why I love the idea of going through a storm. I completely shifted my perspective. Whenever I go through a storm, I always just laugh. You know why? Because God wouldn't have put me here unless I was made for this. Unless I was built for this. You know what I mean? So regardless of how bad the situation might look as of right now, I know for a fact that God will meet all my needs. That my God's a provider. And he never once failed me getting here. Why would he stop now? Right? And I laugh in the midst of storm. When I used to cry about it, I used to punch walls about it. I used to get upset, punch air, get mad at God, this, that, and the third. Why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? This, that, and the third. And I was so focused on the storm. I took my eye off of Jesus and what Jesus was doing within the storm. Right? I'm waffling here again, guys. Let's get back. So there's a verse in James that I actually want to take you to. It's James 1 verse 2. James 1 verse 2 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Right? The storm that you're going through right now is maturing you, is developing your character. You will leave the storm more meek, more kind, more gentle, stronger, more resilient, and with more perseverance. And I love this verse in James because, like I said, the whole point of this video is I really want you guys to understand that we don't face problems, we only have opportunities, right? But this is one of the most pivotal verses when it came to how I shifted my belief. Ultimately, the life that I live today is because the way I matured spiritually, looking at the world from a different lens, right? From a lens that, sees God in everything, even the bad things, quote unquote bad things. Matthew 14 verse 25 says, shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said. And they cried out in fear. Right? I'm going to stop here. Their fear stopped them from realizing that Jesus was right there. How many times have you been in the storm? And the storm made you forget that Jesus was right here with you the whole time. That's what fear does. It clouds your mind. The doubtful thoughts rush in. The anxiety, all these different things rush in. They cloud your judgment, cloud your mind. And if you do not stay glued to your word, then guess what? They blind you from seeing that Jesus has been in it with you the whole time. Right? And you went through this whole storm filled with anxiety, anger, fear, when the whole time you could have chose to sit in the presence of God and experience His joy, His love, His peace, His grace, His mercy. And even though your situation, your circumstances look depressing at times, you could have took heart and knew that Jesus was in it with you the whole time. If you're going through something right now and you feel like it's the end of the world, you feel like it doesn't get any worse, and you feel like you're at rock bottom, I ask you to not focus on what's happening, right? And I ask you to put your eyes back on Jesus. Because once you put your eyes back on Jesus, He will reveal the lessons He's teaching you within this season. He will reveal the character that this season is going to produce. He will reveal the maturity that this season is going to produce. And He will stretch your faith. Right? And that's when the storm starts looking more like an opportunity. Right? But if you focus on everything bad that is happening, it'll blind you from the fact that Jesus is in it with you, fighting for you, and that He's not against you. Peter said, verse 28, Lord, if it is you, tell me to come onto the water. Jesus says, come. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on water, and came towards Jesus. I want to stop right here. A lot of people talk down on Peter for taking his eye off Jesus. Oh, why would he take his eye off? This, that, and the third. But something that was so commendable of Peter is the fact that he asked for the opportunity to get closer to Jesus. How many of you within your storm have asked for an opportunity to get closer to Jesus? God, although my situation feels tough, and it feels like everything's going wrong, and people are being stripped from me, opportunities are being stripped from me, I ask that you just draw me closer to you so that I can see you within it. How many of you guys have done that? Right? And this is what it means to genuinely be a valiant warrior for the kingdom, to be within the midst of the battlefield, have so many things to be distracted by, focused on, and still be yearning for Jesus. Right? Business, you have 110 things going on. Right? At times it's complete chaos as a CEO, as a founder. Right? You got to worry about your team, you got to worry about clients, you got to worry about making sure you stay in touch with your family, your relationship with your mom, my sisters, my pops, like all these different things. It feels like chaos, right? And sometimes it all comes crumbling at once. Mom's going through something, sister's going through something, clients need help more than usual, team not on the same level, right? And it feels like everything's crashing at once. How many of you guys have been in a situation when everything around you is going left and you ask for the opportunity to draw closer to Jesus? Not just, Jesus, can you fix this? Can you fix that? No. Ask for the opportunity to get closer to him. And that's what I love about verse 28. When Peter asked for that opportunity, it's something that I don't just read over. It's something that makes me pause and really reassess my situation. Reassess how I look at this storm. Let's continue. Verse 30. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus reached his hand out and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? Why did Peter sink? Because within the storm, he took his eye off of Jesus and he started focusing on the storm rather than focusing on the one that created everything, quite frankly. Right? And what happens when we focus on the storm, that's when the thoughts of jealousy, envy, lust, anxiety, that's when it just takes over our mind. Right? We give it power. You don't drown when the storm gets louder. You drown when your focus gets weaker. Fear is just faith in the wrong direction. Hebrews tells us in 12 verse 2, fix your eyes on Jesus. And I'm reading this off of I prepared this for a Bible study within Called Coaches. But Hebrews 12 verse 2 tells us, fix your eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. When our focus is on Jesus, that is when life feels like it's just working. You know, everything is just happening for us and not to us. I want you guys to really take that in. Think about the times in your life where you're the most grateful. You were focused on Jesus. And everything that you were experiencing was happening for you rather than against you. But the moment that you make the storm the focus, the things that are going so-called bad the focus, and you focus on the negativity, the thoughts that the devil's feeding your mind, that's when everything goes to, for lack of better, that's when everything goes left. You know what I'm saying? That's when everything goes south. Where you put your focus is so important. And if your focus is on Jesus within the storm, I promise you the storm is going to be something that develops you in a way that you wouldn't even fathom. You were going to walk out of the storm unrecognizable. You might have went in the storm weak, full of anxiety, full of hurt, full of pain. You come out the storm a valiant warrior from the kingdom that knows how to walk in faith in the midst of the war, that knows how to take heart in the midst of battle, that knows how to move with discernment, make the right decisions, have spiritual maturity to discern his relationships, what he says to certain people, how to touch their hearts. Like I'm telling you, the storm has the ability to mold you into the valiant warrior that God knows you can be, right? Whatever you're going through right now, I promise you that it's there for a reason, right? And regardless of how hard it feels, regardless of how much it hurts, regardless of the pain that your flesh is feeling, I promise you that if you persevere and if you focus on Jesus within it, you are going to develop at a rate that you would not even be able to understand. So it's so important that you continue walking forward, because as you walk through the valley of death, you shall fear no evil, because no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The storm that you're in is really, it was sent to save you, not to burden you. But as long as you focus on all the things that are going so-called wrong, it'll feel like a burden. But I promise you, if you focus on Jesus within it, you're going to grow at an exponential rate. One of the most important things that allows me to get through my storm is the fact that I have made it a non-negotiable for me to get in this every single day. You guys are in the middle of a battle. Every single day you wake up, you are experiencing spiritual warfare that is real, right? And whether or not you come to the battle equipped, well, that's on you. The Bible refers to this as our sword. Imagine stepping on the battlefield without your sword, how vulnerable you would feel, how naked you would feel, how easy it would be to take advantage of you on the field. It'd be too easy. Why do you wake up every single day and choose to leave your sword in the cabinet, on the dresser? Right? Some of you guys even got your sword. You guys went in it, you bedazzled it, you guys, highlighted it up. You know what I'm saying? You guys made it look like a freaking coloring book. Every single day you leave your sword on the dresser. We are in the midst of a war here, right? And this war isn't something that stops and starts. It's something that goes continuously. And every single morning, you have to understand that you are stepping on the battlefield, whether you're prepared or whether you're not. And if you want to make it through this storm and come out on the other side a valiant warrior for the kingdom, stronger, smarter, more discernment, more meek, more kind, more gentle, you have to understand that you need to get into your word. This is how you deepen your faith. Getting to know God's character, getting to know his promises. Without this sword, you are vulnerable. You want to know why you keep letting the storm overcome you, take your focus, steal your focus from you? It's because you're not getting into the word. You don't know what Jesus has promised you. You don't know his character. Right? But trust me, you get real acquainted with the storm's character. You want to know everything about the storm. When I gotta pay that bill, how much it is, to the cent. That girl, like, you know all the specifics about your storm. But you don't know any of the specifics about your Savior. And that's where you went wrong. Right? So know that the storm was not meant to break you, but to shape you. Take heart and understand that you don't experience or have problems. What you have is an opportunity to show God what his creation is truly capable of.